So the schedule can change a little bit, but back when you were on a two-a-day schedule, when training camp broke, it meant you were into a single practice day. Well, we're already, into single practices, so the time shifts a little bit. But this week, basically, we're finishing, that hotel meeting, and much like in prior years, we'll move to a different schedule now.
Sean, with this segment of work on the field, are you pleased with what you've seen so far, the progression?
Yeah. Look, it's been competitive. A little warmer today than yesterday. I thought they handled it pretty well. And, there's so much that you need work at. And there's so many different situations you have to cover. And you're trying to prepare for everything, and yet you're also trying to prepare them to think the way you think relative to timeouts, where you're at on the field, and how you have to play a game.
Coach, it seems like the ball was on the ground a lot today, or am I wrong? Or was it maybe not the most crisp offensive?
Yeah, I'd say defensively it looked a little sharper than the offense today.
Coach, obviously, at the beginning of camp, you had mentioned a three-way battle at center. Now that training camp is in the books, your evaluation of Eric McCoy, and how safe is it to say he's the starter?
Yeah, we're not announcing the starting lineups right yet. Eric's been doing well. He's taking a lot of the reps with the ones. We're pleased with how he's progressing, and we'll continue to look at not only him but the other guys working there.
Sean, is there a situation, whether the Jets game or Dolphins game, that Taysom could get reps with the ones?
Yeah, I don't know that that'll take place in this game. No, it probably won't take place in this game.
Okay. Sean, will you stay at 90 till the end, or might you make a few cuts after this game to make it more manageable?
Normally we'd stay at 90. That's not to say that we wouldn't switch out some spots possibly or make some moves. Obviously when it comes to that final weekend, there's a lot of transactions. You're paying attention to your own roster, but you're also paying attention to the 31 other teams.
How much do you like the way they do it now compared to 90 to 75, and now it's just 90?
Well, look, I think it helps when you get into preseason week 4.
Is there anything about this training camp that will stick with you later, or is it just sort of all of?
No, I mean, look, you're building a foundation in training camp with this team, and so hopefully there's a number of things that stick with all of us, whether it's lessons learned or positive experiences. But yeah, I think that you go through the process, you repeat certain things, and you're working on their technique. I mean, when a player gets tired and he's in week 6 or 7 of the season, and there's a point at which he's got to rely on his technique that he's gotten comfortable with.
Sean, looking at Keith Kirkwood on the team last year, how would you compare him and Simmie Cobbs? Are they very similar?
Yeah, I would say they have similar traits. Their body types are similar. They're guys with strong hands that probably the closer to the ball they play, the better. I think that would be a good comparison.
Are you liking training here? After the years in West Virginia coming back, now it's been a few years here.
Yeah. Look, it's one of those things we've got. As soon as you get into a routine, I think the challenge is dealing with the heat, but I think we've done that and managed it pretty well. I like our West Coast trip when we go out there to practice. All of that's worked out well.
Coach, you approach cut downs. Is that hard for you on a human level?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always probably one of the hardest parts of the job, and I've been in their shoes probably at least 3 or 4 different times, been released, when I was younger, and some of the players that get released, there's a good chance they're going to end up coming back through the doors here. We talk about that. And then some of the players maybe not so much, but that part never changes really. And these guys have put a lot in, starting in the winter with all the conditioning, the weightlifting. There's a lot of investment, and so it's difficult.
I know in the 24-hour news cycle, a lot is talked about in the third preseason game as being the most important one. Is that maybe more of a media creation, or because you have a body of work, or how much emphasis do you put on this?
Historically, I don't think that's created by the media. I think historically that's somewhat true relative to how much starters play. Now, does that mean around the league everyone subscribes to the same plan of how they're going to play their guys? I think each team's specific, but typically if you looked around the league, that third game is a game where guys would get more reps maybe than they had, and we've approached it that way.
Is the evaluation of the return game particularly complicated this year just because you had brought in someone who's established and really good at that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair question. Hopefully we can get him back, as soon as possible. In the meantime, we're looking at some of these other younger guys, and Harris has done some things that are encouraging. It's not crystal clear right now, if you're asking, and I don't know that I expected it to be at this point, but we'll keep practicing it and looking at the lineups and the guys that we're asking to do it, so that we can get better clarity and arrive at the right decision.
Sean,
Just one more quick follow-up, sorry. If you really have a good idea based on someone's career what they can do, and there's a reasonable expectation that they'll be healthy by very end of preseason, are you evaluating the young guys now versus what they have done, or do you have to?
Yeah, I mean, look, the young guys are being evaluated, period. What do we think they are? How are they performing now? What do we think they can perform to? And the veteran players, much the same way. Now, you might not need to see it every day, but you're going to still, at some point, still need to see it. So I think that's the way we're kind of taking it.
Has this rookie class maybe exceeded expectations a little bit at this point? I mean, given where you drafted and the number of picks you had.
Well, look, I think I'm encouraged and yet somewhat reserved because we haven't played yet. But I'm encouraged with some of the players, some of the free agents. How they get here is the business of the draft. Once they're here, it's the business of evaluation. So, hopefully we continue to feel as good as we do. I think starting with our center, he's had a real good camp. He's playing well. I'm encouraged. And then when you look throughout this class, there's some players that I think can help us. Now, how soon? We'll see.
Sean, when you look in the past, like Tommy Lewis and his contribution as a receiver, is Deontay Harris, does he have that ability maybe to be a Tommy Lee, or is it more like
it's a good
running
question.
jet sweeps?
No, it's a good question. What are the things he can do well, and that's what we're going to try to find out. Because, look, if you feel like you have something in a returner, then how many other snaps can you get from him? And I think that's a real good question. All right, thank you.
Thank you.